Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1427, written by Kime Reads Reddit. Vash's cryptic adventure that will blow your mind. The husband and I had a dog named Vash. Vash was a neutered at the time, blue heeler who would sometimes hop out of the yard and go exploring, probably because he was an unneutered dog, but I digress. So one Saturday, he escaped and we went looking for him. Most of the time when this happened, we would either find him out in the neighborhood or in the pound, or he'd come back on his own. This time, he was gone for 2 days. We checked the pound, he wasn't there. We checked in the house, in the closets, under the beds, etc. We even tried bribing him to come out of hiding with sandwich meat. A very food-driven dog. This usually worked. But this time, he was just gone. My husband was sure he was dead somewhere because Vash never stayed away from home for more than a day. So he came home from work on Monday and started to unlock the door when he heard a jingle from the tags on their collars. So he looked around the front and backyard. No Vash. So he goes back to the front, opens the door, and boom, there's Vash in the house with both doors locked. We asked the neighbors if they let him in and then locked the door. They did not. Vash died 10 years ago, and it's still one of our greatest unsolved mysteries. We also aren't sure where he came from, as he was discovered by a cross-country skateboarder tangled up in a fence somewhere. Case notes of file 1427, Vash's cryptic adventure that will leave your mind blown. Indeed, mind blown. There's something about our pets, dogs and cats especially, that enable transient phases. That is to say, when they aren't directly observed, they aren't necessarily where they should be. It's literally Schrodinger's cat at large. I do think some pets have souls. Some dogs, cats, cows, all that stuff. But maybe some of them are placeholders. Maybe they're NPCs, so to speak, and those can be phased in and out with no issue. Maybe as even a function of how the simulation works. That is a way to frame it, I think. That would make some sense. Case file number 1428, written by Night Fury 620. The Prophetic Toddler. So let's see, something unexplainable. When I was young, maybe 3 or 4 years old, my family lived on the second floor of a 3-story apartment. I was going about my day, walking and crawling, when I started singing a song that my aunt was thinking. I started about halfway through in the exact place she was in. This surprised her a lot. Then I said it would rain. It was cloudy, so it wasn't that far-fetched of a thing to say. However, I turned to my parents and said again that it would rain, but it'd rain in the bathroom. My parents just shrugged it off as toddler nonsense. But later that night, at dinner, we heard the sound of heavy rain. However, it wasn't coming from outside. I yelled that it was raining in the bathroom and ran to it. My parents got up and stopped me from running. And to the great astonishment of my parents, it was raining in the bathroom. However, to my mom's great dismay, it was raining from the faucet, air vents, shower, and bathtub faucet. The deep yellow of urine was soaking the brand new bathroom decorations my mom had bought. Everything was ruined and soaked. My dad ran upstairs and went to their bathroom as the kids there had been left alone. He turned off the water from the toilet and the bathroom stopped raining. Thankfully, we were able to clean up all the urine, but we had to dump all the towels used to clean up the urine. My parents don't know how I knew, nor do I know how I knew this was going to happen. I haven't had any other experiences similar to this. It was simply unexplainable. Case notes file 1428, The Prophetic Toddler. We all know about future knowledge drifting out of the ether, but how it comes into our minds is not clear at all. Is it always being picked up like a signal from in a radio? But the decoding process isn't always easy or simple for the subconscious? I think younger minds seem more prone to accessing it or decoding it. Maybe it's because our subconscious doesn't automatically filter it out, and sometimes even adults are able to tap into it. Bonus file written by JShow1. My spine-chilling encounter in Jack the Ripper's Square. So, between 2007 and 2011, I used to work for a large bank in London, just off of Broadgate. My train commute to the city from my hometown places me at Fenchurch Street Station, about a 10 to 15 minutes walk to work. Now, as an avid lover of London and the city, you will get to know various places and their stories. Obviously, as a young child growing up in a family from East London, Jack the Ripper always fascinated me. My chosen walk to work cut through Mitre Square. For those of you not in the know, Mitre Square was the location of the Ripper's fourth victim, Catherine Eddowes, in September of 1888. Knowing that Catherine's murder occurred on the 30th of September, I was going to mutter a little rest in peace to myself as I walked through the square that day. Now, as you walk through Mitre Square, at the time, there was a small passage called simply Mitre Passage. It was a dark and slim alleyway, made up of two derelict buildings. They were being demolished to make way for new offices, with an atrium that would let you look straight up into the sky above. About 20 or so feet up, you could look into a window which was a walkway over the valley below. Now on this day, I'm walking through and saying my respects. As I look up, I see a young girl looking down at me from the window in the alley. She's wearing an old Victorian nightgown, and she's framed by candlelight placed on the window ledge in front of her. She's brushing her hair, and as she sees me, she smiles. Me not paying any mind at all, looks up and smiles back, continuing to walk through the passage. It's only 20 or so steps past the passage that it dawns on me that the buildings are empty. No one should be in there, let alone be dressed in a Victorian garb and smiling down at me. I didn't go back, for fear of seeing something that the back of my brain told me shouldn't be there, although now I wish I had. I did occasionally walk through the passage on that way to work until I could no longer due to the new buildings. However, it still stays with me today, just wondering what I actually witnessed. Case notes for the bonus file: my spine-chilling encounter in Jack the Ripper's Square. Ah yes, Jack the Ripper, famous lore indeed. The most chilling aspect about Jack the Ripper is he was never caught. No legitimate suspects. A figurative ghost that produced literal ghosts, one of which you almost certainly saw that day. How somber is that? And yet, I don't think she posed any threat to you at all. More of a longing. From her perspective, she probably is seeing London as it was over a century ago. And that's another thing I was thinking. If the perspective of spirits can be shifted, maybe it's even in time. Maybe their echo, their repeating pattern, they see things normally. And now time for the quote of the day. Sometimes, when we are generous in small, barely detectable ways, it can change someone else's life forever. Margaret Cho. Yes, the devil is in the details, but so is the angel. Those small little acts that maybe a friend mentioned something that they really wanted for Christmas, and instead of getting them a generic gift card or something, maybe you just remember that one thing. And that means more than $1,000 to them. Well, unless they're, struggling beyond belief, but in general, people appreciate when you remember very specific things about them, and then you act on those small things. Or it doesn't have to be something that you remember about them, but maybe just making them a meal. Maybe they're sick and you come over with soup. Those small acts, they go so far, and they amplify on themselves. The more small acts you do for someone, the more each subsequent one is valued. And it's not a conscious thing, it's just how it seems to work. But of course, it's not like in a video game where you have like reputation standing with an NPC and you just give them gifts to keep increasing it. It's not, you shouldn't think of it that way. But in effect, it kind of does work similar to that, which is kind of cool. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.